Hello, Rob from Fountain Pen Journey with a re-review of the Narwhal Original fountain pen. Now, I did review the Narwhal Original fountain pen very recently, however I completely mixed up my information about Narwhal versus TWSBI and the ongoing furore that TWSBI, not Narwhal, are having with retailers. Basically, TWSBI is saying that Narwhal copied their design for a piston filling mechanism, and therefore they're refusing to sell their TWSBI pens to certain retailers if they also sell Narwhal fountain pens. So that is the actual spat that is going on. Rightly or wrongly, it's not like TWSBI invented the piston filling mechanism. I believe that might have been Pelican. So anyway, that is the correct information because I got completely mixed up. I don't, I don't mind. It's one of those things. I messed up, and as it happened, shortly after that video, I was using this pen on a different type of paper, and I thought it's actually going to be worth re-reviewing this pen because I sung its praises so highly. But it did actually let me down a bit, so I'm going to get onto that later. Anyway, so this is the review of the Narwhal Original Yellow Tang fountain pen, and I really like yellow fountain pens. Any colouring goes well in a yellow fountain pen. You don't have to think about it. You just put any ink in, and it's going to look great. It's going to match. And this yellow acrylic, I remember a fountain pen probably about 2017, 2018 that Chris Rapsick reviewed from China, which had a very similar acrylic material. It was not a very good fountain pen from a writing perspective, so I didn't even bother going into it further. I watched his review and thought, no, I'm not going to buy one of those, but I really did want the acrylic. So when I eventually decided to pull the trigger on a Narwhal fountain pen, this was the first one, and I am going to review other ones. This was the first Narwhal fountain pen that I actually really thought I'm going to buy one of those because I really like the actual acrylic. This Yellow Tang is a very nice material. It's translucent, so you've got the full demonstrator experience with the fountain pen, and you've got these swirls, which have got a great deal of depth in there. As you can see, it's sort of like a 3D type effect with these white swirls through the yellow acrylic, and I'm really happy with that. I like it a lot. The Narwhal Original fountain pen has also had quite a lot of flack because the piston mechanism, the actual rod, the piston rod up here, is, I'll just say, prone to breakage. It sort of gets to a point when you're using it, you're unscrewing it, and sometimes some people have said it just stops working or breaks, it cracks, snaps, something like that, which is obviously not good. And TWSBI, they've perfected their mechanism. Pelican certainly have perfected their mechanism, and I know that Narwhal did do not a product recall, but there was one of these things. If your pen happens to break, get in touch with your retailer, and there's a good chance that you're going to get the pen replaced. I do believe that Narwhal have redesigned their piston filling rod so that it is now less of a problem. But people criticise TWSBI for the TWSBI Eco cracking and things like that, and I think this, unfortunately for Narwhal, with their launch pen launched at the DC Pen Show, the Narwhal Original has kind of already got the same sort of reputation for product quality control, if you like, and design. So that is something to bear in mind. I've had no issues with this pen, but I'm not using it as an everyday carry every single day of the year, so it's something to bear in mind. The Narwhal Original is it's a strangely shaped pen, in all honesty. It's almost like it's hand turned because the actual cap, it bows out it flares out either side and then tapers down towards the ends. And then you've got this straight barrel that does taper down slightly to the piston filling knob. The clip is somehow inserted inside this acrylic, and it is a gold clip on this pen, very, very stiff but perfectly functional. Cap doesn't have a cap band. As you can see, this band here, which says, I'm assuming it says Narwhal. Yep, Narwhal on both sides. That is actually part of the barrel, and the barrel, of course, houses the demonstrator filling chamber. So that is now full of ink, which is nice. I like demonstrator piston filling pens because you can see how much ink's in there. You can see the ink moving around, things like that. So slight taper down to another band, and then the piston filling knob, which turns, unscrews, and then you can raise and lower the piston inside here to fill or empty the pen. The cap is a screw cap, almost 2 full turns. There's a bit of a liner in there, and I've never had any issues with this hard starting or anything like that. Got a decently sized nib, which is a Narwhal nib, steel, gold coloured, and a nice sized section. There is a bit of a flare out at the bottom so your fingers don't slide off, but it's a decent size. And these threads are so smooth, completely, you're not going to notice those at all. I mean, you could hold it up here. They're not sharp, very, very comfortable. I can feel them here on my thumb, no issues whatsoever. And the pen is a nice, comfortable size. It's a decent sized pen. Does not post though. So it is very, very comfortable to hold and write with. Black plastic feed, nothing fancy. So let's get on and have a look at the way that this pen writes and give you an update. And this is a broad nib, and I am overall very, very happy with the way that this pen writes. There is a bit of a stubbish nature to it, but I'm quite happy with that. Very, very smooth, very, very good ink flow, nice and wet, and it lays down an awful lot of ink without any issues on pretty much every paper. However, excuse me, this lovely broad nib that I absolutely loved, and still do love. Really, really nice, good, smooth writing experience, no hard starts, none of that. Though being a broad nib, there is more ink in between those tines, so it can dry out. You know, you might get a hard start if you leave this uncapped for a certain length of time, which is to be expected. However, on really high quality paper, I mean, this is Rhodia. I've used this on cheaper paper and on Rhodia paper, and it's been absolutely fine, absolutely fantastic. And when they say that it's really important to match the excuse me, writing with a fountain pen is all about matching the pen, i.e. the nib, the ink, and the paper. And on all the papers I've used, this has been absolutely fine. I did my original review, yeah, absolutely blown away with the way that this nib writes, and then I moved over to some, if you like, smoother paper, more polished, if you like, and that paper, this pen skips awfully, and it is a case of skipping on these sort of strokes. I mean, there, it would skip in that direction, all due to the paper. It's fine on everything else. I mean, this Rhodia paper is absolutely no problem whatsoever, but on really polished, smooth paper, especially the non-absorbent type, which it might have been optic paper. In fact, it was optic paper. I'll just write that down for you. Optic. Yeah, so that was the paper. Really skippy on that. Not a pleasant writing experience. Keep having to go back to words to, you know, edit them, write them out again, write down the first letter, stuff like that. Really annoying. So that was a bit of a really annoying point for me, because it was like, I love this pen, love the nib, and then I was using it in a notebook, and it was like, oh, this is so infuriating. So it did let me down a bit. So this is why I've decided to re-review the pen. If you're interested in knowing what ink I've paired with this pen, this is, which one is this? This is Waterman. Oops. Waterman Mysterious Blue. And I love this ink. It was an ink that it was one of the first inks that I bought, first bottled inks that I bought when I got into fountain pens many years ago. And I've always loved it. It's a sort of pale blue-black, bordering on a sort of blue teal. Really lovely colour. I mean, you can see it here. It's really, really a good colour. And it's not the wettest ink. It's a very medium wetness ink. But it's well behaved. It cleans out of pens easily. And I really, really like it. But because my fountain pen journey advanced over the years, and I bought dozens of different inks, and the first inks that you buy tend to get forgotten about, and yeah, Waterman Mysterious Blue was one of those until I dug out this pen and started writing with it. So I think it's a good match for the pen, and that's it. So that's my review of the Narwhal Original Yellow Tang with a broad nib. Very, very happy with this pen. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.